Hey, welcome back to another episode of Courage Change. This is Brian Wright. I'm back in sunny California, where I grew up with my friend Tatum Walls. So everybody's been asking, hey Tatum. Hey. Everybody's been asking me, when is somebody gonna do your interview? And I was like, yeah, man, that's a good question. When am I gonna have that done? And so I figured, I'm with my homegirl. She knows me inside and out. She's been with me through the rough times, and she's seen me come out on the other side shining. And so I thought that the best person to interview me would be Tatum. So here you go, Tatum.
Okay. So we're gonna try to stick with the Courage to Change format while I'm driving.
Ride along interview.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that we'll start off with why I'm doing an interview. And so I think one of the reasons that I heard was a lot of you out there have a lot of questions about him.
Yeah.
And so what's one of the biggest questions that you get? What's the number one question that people ask you behind the scenes, on the scenes, during the scenes? Like, what's one of the biggest questions people ask you when talking about courage?
So they ask me, why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this?
So I want to reach out to as many people as possible that has yet to overcome some compelling obstacles in their lives. Because at an early age, when I was hit with life challenges, I couldn't sort through them by myself. And I feel like had I had a format or a guide or a model to look after that had similar problems or issues, like on a social media level, then I might have turned that corner a lot sooner.
What kind of format do you think was your starting format? Because maybe your formats have changed since you began this journey. So what's one of the beginning formats that you used to just step off, like the step off formula?
Step on off as in?
Well, you said that there wasn't always a format laid out. Now there's a lot of different ones. Social media, you're providing a format for a lot of people. What format did you grab that piqued your interest to start doing what you do? Okay,
so YouTube. I hit bottom rock, and then I went to treatment. My bottom looked like I had a few bottoms. I went to CYA, and then I had Sam, Dr. Sam Holderson. He used to come visit me when I was in juvenile hall in Martinez.
And who's that? What does he do?
He's the assistant superintendent of the Assemblies of God. And so he's he's like second in command over 450 churches. We're actually out here visiting him and about to go to this Man Up conference this weekend. But I had guys like that poured into me at an early age. And then when I hit my bottom, I started seeking out similar guys who had similar things going for themselves, coming out of treatment. But how I got there was homelessness. I got addicted to methamphetamines. I was messing around all around town, from California to Oklahoma City, Norman, and my kids were getting my kids up to DHS custody for three months, and that still wasn't enough. I still was using, and it wasn't until the last time I saw my daughter's face, and she looked back at me, and she looked at me not like with a facial expression of disgust. She looked at me like, "I love you, Daddy. Bye. I'll see you again soon." You know, like smiling, blowing me kisses. And so at that moment, I got the gift of desperation. I met God in that moment, because I believe that my God is an unconditionally loving God, and that's how he sees me. No matter what you do, I'm going to love you through it. And so when I saw that, I keep a mental imprint of that look on her face going into treatment, and to this day, and that's what helped me, what motivated me to turn my life around.
Okay, so you say that at that moment you kind of met God, and that was kind of a turning force for you. So I kind of feel like, knowing you've always known God.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do. A lot of people know God in different ways, however they want to do it. But so a lot of people know God. You already knew God, but still had made different choices, to go down this path, that path, and then, at this point in time, something about your daughter, something about where you were at, the time and place you were. What was it about that to where, like, it was a different, you
Right.
either looked at God different, you felt like God was doing something different? Like, what was the difference, the different relationship that it did something there?
That's a good question. So when I saw my daughter's face, this is what, and I saw the love in her eyes, that she didn't care what I did. And this is after so many times of failing her and failing so many other people. What I saw right there at that moment was, and I became aware that I'm not living for myself anymore. And I have to do something with my life. I have to make my life.
You saw a version of unconditional love.
Right.
Okay.
I have to make my life about somebody else's, for somebody else. I have to commit my life, a committed life to service and being of use for somebody else. And how do I get there? And I have to seek out help to say, hey, help me become of service to somebody else.
I can dig it. Because I think that's for anybody trying to change anything, that's kind of the place. Like, how do you get to that place? So some people, they may know God, they may know what's right and wrong, they may know what's better for them, they might not know what's better for them, or they're around people who are telling them certain things are good, certain things aren't good, whatever it may be. It could be the people around you, the place that you're in, the line of habits that you've already created for yourself. So a lot of people get into that place, and not everybody can just go, oh, somebody else needs me.
Right.
What? I think I'm gonna switch it up.
Right.
But some people can, and I think it's a sign of strength. It's a sign of your strength, being able to recognize that this is a moment to, switch it up. How do people take from, how do I say, like, I want people to be able to see that and take that moment of strength and figure out how to find that moment of strength for themselves, and not even just find that moment of strength, but how do you maintain that strength? Like, how do you maintain that strength? Because that's like I should do something for someone else, I gotta take care of my kids, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta go get a job, I gotta do all these things, adulting, I have to adult,
Right.
adulting. So we all have to do this adulting thing at some point. How do you, when you know that you can do other things other than adulting, so how do you keep that strength going?
Okay, good question. So how do I keep it going? How do I maintain my sobriety? How do I maintain my wellness?
Right.
A balance for wellness.
Right.
So what I do is I have to say in the morning, I can't do this by myself. I need help. I need guidance to point me, God, into the right direction, and I need to suit up and show up and make myself available to receive help, and then God shows up and He leads me to this direction that I might not normally be recognized. Like, so for instance, I'm out here visiting for the weekend from Oklahoma City.
Cali.
Yeah. And it's not on my will. I got on the plane, I took the action, and I'll be honest with you, I almost self-sabotaged it and did not get on the plane out of fear. So I have to fight that fear, confront my fears, and take action every day, and look for ways that I can be of service to someone else and support somebody else's dream, goals, help someone else achieve their objective. And I have to connect. I have to connect with you. I have to connect with Jared. I have to connect. I brought Fisher out here with me so he could be a part of the process. Also for so that he can be an accountability partner for me, because I feel like we grow in numbers. We connect through our vulnerabilities, and we grow together. Alone, I'm not going to be able to reach higher heights. But if I reach out to people like you, people like Fisher, people like Sam, then they can help me, encourage me, pour love into me, and get me to the finish, help me get to the finish line, cheering me on along the way.
So how do you identify those types of people? So that's kind of one of the struggle. Anybody in a struggle of all different sorts. It could be any struggle, any challenge with choices that they're making in their life. A lot of times it has to do with the people they have in their life. I mean,
right.
It's like a big deal.
Right.
It's a big part of it. So when you're used to a certain type of people, or you made these changes, you're switching it up. How do you identify the right kind of people to help yourself continue on the path that you are choosing to be on? And how do you identify those types of people in order that you can, keep the right type of support around you to maintain what you're trying to maintain?
Good question. So Sam, he served like 5 calendar years for being accessory to a strong arm robbery, and where there was a murder involved. There's a murder, and he walked through that. And now him walking through that back in the late 70s, writing 2 books, having 2 books published, now being the assistant superintendent over Assemblies of God, and he's still connecting with me. He's still reaching out to see how I'm doing, right? And flying me out to California to be a part of this conference. That's an example. That's a good example of a good example. So I want to know where that comes from. How did he get to the other side of it, and how is he still doing it? And then guys like Fisher. So Fisher, he's
Hi Fisher, sorry you couldn't come on the road trip.
Yeah.
Next time you gotta get in the car.
Yeah, that's good. So Fisher, he served just under 9 calendars for prison, and I watched this guy lose his mom in sobriety and walk through that like with grace and dignity, and he hasn't dropped a beat. He hasn't missed a step. He's running has his own sober living houses. He's about to get his own house off the ground in the country in Choctaw, and I see him being of maximum service to other people in recovery. And so I want to be surrounded by people like that are having setting high standards for themselves, and have came from near death type situations. But dude,
identifying the people. So
people that have overcame compelling obstacles. So people that have been through either worse than I've been through, and have changed their lives, and as a direct result of taking action from whatever they're doing, by working a program, being active in a church community, or whatever it is, having a spiritual connection, whatever it is, where they're making progress in their lives, and their lives are changing. And while they're changing, everything that is attached to them is also changing for the good. So I surround myself around people like that, and when they're absent, the ones that are not ready or available, I seek out more models.
So what do you do with the people who don't fit the criteria? So there's lots of people in our life. We have family members that don't fit the criteria. We have old friends that don't fit the criteria. We might meet new people that sometimes we think, oh yeah, you might be cool, but then they'll fit the criteria.
Right, we'll see.
And so, what do you do with those people? Because those people are all still there. Everybody has to everyone has that challenge. And I think it's easy to know that the people who do fit the criteria, we want them in our lives. We want to keep them around.
Right.
We may or may not feel like we have something to offer them, but we know that we want them in our lives. So what how do you feel about the people who don't fit the criteria? How do you keep those boundaries, and how do you maintain them in your life? Do you not maintain them in your life? Do you put them somewhere, like you guys stay over there? You know, what do you do with them in order for you to be able to maintain your goals and stay on your path?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Okay, so
that's why I got this job.
So we love them from across the street. Okay, so the people that are not willing to take rigorous action,
stay your ass. Okay,
and take action, and you know, and cultivate a new routine, a successful routine that helps you reach higher heights in your life and overcome and make some progress. So you love them from across the street. And I see it this way. So I see it if the people that want to grow and want to change, and even if they fall off, they'll end up where I'm heading, or people like me are at eventually. It just might take them a little bit more time. So I don't turn my back on them. I try to, you know, I pray them on through that. And if, you know, and it's not up to me to force my way of life onto somebody else. So I'm no better or no worse. But at the same time, all I can be is a good example by making the next right decision for today.
Right. How much time do you think is for you? How much time do you think, or how much energy do you think is the right amount of energy to put in these people that we want to keep across the street? Because we don't know if they should come over our side of the street. So, but at the same time, you want to spread good things. Like, you want to teach what you maybe you do, maybe you don't. You want to teach what you've learned. You want to teach, like, hey, you know, I see what you're doing, and I remember that is kind of, you know, going to lead you onto a wrong path. Like, when you see things that remind you of a wrong path you may have taken in other people, how much energy do you put towards that? Like, you know, because sometimes people are ready to hear things about change. Sometimes people are not trying to hear things. Like, they see what you're doing, they're like, yeah, that's cool, Brian, you know, that's for you, you know. But then sometimes it's like people might be interested in what you're doing, but it may not be the right time for them. They may not be ready. How much energy do you put towards these kind of people? Like, how, you know, what's the give and the take of where you're like, you sit down with them and say, hey, yada yada yada, you know, this is what I'm doing, this could be good for you? Or do you just, hey, stay on that side of the street?
Right. So that's a good question. So now it can be unhealthy for me if I spend too much time and my efforts into, you know, pouring into someone, because then I'll get emotionally invested, right? And, you know, and I just want to see them get it. You know, I just want to see it. You know, when I win, I want you to win. When you win, I win, type of thing. But if there has been times where guys they fall off, and then I have to detach, and I have to pray for them, and I have to pray that God puts someone in their lives that can help them turn the corner. And then also I have to be aware that my sobriety and my relationship with God is just as important. I have to love myself. Like, you know, like when you're in the airplane and they tell you to put on the mask, you have to put on your mask first. Right?
It's I tell people that all the time. Yeah, because if you pass out, you can't take care of anybody
exactly else. So I gotta take care of me first. Right. But also I know that I can't do it better than God can do it for me. So I have to let Him do it for me, and let Him do it for them. Right. So that's how I treat that type of situation. Does that answer your question?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
What else?
I was just thinking we get a shirt. Stay your ass on the side of the street. I'm just kidding. I had a thought. So relationships. So
that's
okay.
So
relationships. So a lot of times, anybody who's, you know, I have a relationship with cake. Okay, so like I get emotional, and I start feeling some kind of way, whether it's good feelings, bad feelings, whatever. I'm like, cake would solve all of this, right? You know, chocolate cake, like it'll just solve the problem. Let's go get some.
Right. Comfort food.
Yeah. So a lot of people have their own comfort food, right? Okay,
Right.
so a lot of times people have their own comfort food, and so when they're not feeling comfortable about changes that are being made, you know, sometimes people will turn to that. So whoever's comfort food may be, whatever your comfort food might be, you know, when you're having relationships with people, so you're trying to get people to stay on that side of the street, you're trying to get these people to come over and let's build and let's think of great things on how we can all be better and promote goodness so that people can gain off of it. These are all human. We're dealing with a whole bunch of different humans who got their own stuff going on. And then there's relationships. So you've got relationships with people you might be trying to work with, relationships with people, you know, either dating, you might be trying to date somebody, you might be trying to work with somebody, and it's all creates for emotion, which tends to, you know, whether it's up or down, sometimes makes us want our comfort food.
Right.
So if you've made a decision, so if I say, hey, you know what, I need to quit eating chocolate cake, you know, no more cake for me, and then I get into a situation where I'm meeting new people, if I start trying to have a new relationship with somebody and it's kind of an unknown situation, new relationships are kind of unknown, and then it creates different types of emotions, and then you're like, well shit, the only way I know how to deal with this is to eat chocolate cake.
Right.
So while networking with new people, and there's so much, you know, unknowns, how do you deal with the unknowns and the emotions that they rise up and down with new relationships with new people, whether you know it's intimate relationships, not intimate relationships, whatever they are? How do you deal with that without having the comforts that you may have been used to in the past? Like, how do you keep that straight line of not trying to go for comfort food when dealing with ups and downs of people? Not necessarily like ups and downs of work or ups and downs of money or ups and downs of other things, because there's so many ups and downs, but just people in particular relationships.
Right.
How do you...
That's good stuff. So, is this relationship healthy? Is this relationship causing more good, or is it causing harm? So, and how is this relationship taking control over my emotions? And is it exhausting a relationship, or do I walk away from this relationship feeling like that I've been enlightened, or I got a good vibe from it? And then also, then it's like, can I be away from this relationship and still maintain my own self-worth without having the cake? Right? Can I be okay without the cake? Right? So right. And then I have to do the internal work, and I have to say, God, reveal to me, you know, my assets, you know, so that I can be able to be a positive presence in this relationship, and not be in this relationship to take solely, right? And I want to be able to give and not just receive, right? When entering into any relationship. Now, and when working with guys in recovery, I have to say, I can't play God in this relationship. I can't try to control, you know, the efforts that are try to, you know, dictatorship type stuff. I can't, you know, tell this person to do everything that I'm not doing. Right. So, and that goes for any relationship, right? So, it's all about self-awareness for me, being self-aware that I'm not this person's God. They have a God, and I'm not it. I have a God, and I'm not it. So I have to be aware that, you know, cake. Am I overeating? You know, am I overindulging because this cake is making me happy, but this cake is not my source of joy?
Which cake?
Right. So that's it. And then, like, you know, so it goes back to relationships. Like you said, it goes back to our first relationship with our parents. You know, I feel like a lot of our self-worth and how we treat people comes from how we were taught to treat others from our first initial relationships that we formed, or that we made in early childhood. And it starts in the home. And also from that, what happens is we teach people how to treat us.
Right.
And if I'm not aware of what's going on inside of me, and if I'm not a safe place to be, or a safe friend to be around, it's because I'm selfish, and I didn't learn how to be selfless, and how to encourage people, and how to celebrate other people's victory.
It's true. Selfish people are not safe.
Right. Because they suck you dry. They're like vultures.
Right.
And but I was one, in my addiction, so I crashed the car in a lot of relationships, and I was only there to I settled, and got comfortable, and because I was living in fear of coming out of it, thinking that I didn't deserve anything else better, or I, in some relationships I picked, a person, a mate that I felt like I could fix. I thought I could fix them because I was better than them,
right? And
which is wrong,
right?
Which is that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and they're already grown.
Right, right.
They're already grown.
Right. And then it
hopefully.
And so and being aware comes from, or gaining awareness comes from doing the inside work, and that means taking self-inventory, doing a lot of self-inventory, and seeing where I need to make some improvements, right, on how I treat people, and not worry about.
So how do you do that? You just wake up and you go, man, today's self-inventory day. I'm gonna have some coffee and I'm gonna do some self-inventory, and get a piece of paper and just start running inventory. Like how do people do it? How do you do it? Like how would one go about taking a self-inventory on themselves and checking themselves and be like, you know what? I think I need to check myself today. Right.
So have I harmed anyone today?
Okay.
Have I lied today? Have I felt self-pity today? And why am I feeling self-pity? And if I was feeling self-pity, am I using people just to cry, be for their shoulder to cry on, and making it all about me, making my life all about my day, all about me. Right. And that's usually 9 times out of 10 what happens if I'm stuck in self and I'm worrying about all my stuff and not seeking out, someone else to be of service to. Then I'm living in Brian's recovery, instead of being an asset to someone else's recovery and helping someone else get to the other side of fear. And that's and I have to look at my defects. Does it really matter how someone else is perceiving my actions? Does it really matter that I may have stuttered on, in a video that I upload, or if I said something that was misguided or whatever, can I come back to the case? Am I going to live through that? And how bad was it?
But did you die?
Yeah, did I die? Right. Am I going to die because I said something wrong? But I'll do that. Like we're just talking about off camera. I obsess over, sometimes when I upload a video, and I'll be like, Brian, what are you doing? Right. Who do you think you are, about doing this? And I feel like, and that comes from feeling inadequate. That comes from insecurities that I haven't fully recovered from. And it's a process. So it's a process of gaining progress and not perfection. And it's prideful too to think that I'm gonna get everything right the first time. Right.
Well, a lot of it too, I think, is about the process, the process, not the product. So so sometimes it takes a lot of that. It takes a lot of process, not so much product. Process, not so much product, and then eventually the process of all the processes becomes a great product.
Right. Yeah. Right? That's good, because that's exactly what my daughter's mom says. She's like small victories turn into big victories over time. Huge victories over time. And the problem with me and a lot of other people when trying to achieve something greater than themselves is thinking is getting through the knowing that you're gonna fail a lot more than other people not trying to do it.
Right. And that's like I believe that's a general idea of successful people, right? Like the people who make all the money, the millionaires, they're like, oh, I had 14 businesses that failed before I had the 3 that made me all this money.
Yeah, that's good.
They always talk about Michael Jordan, you know, he missed this many shots, he got kicked off of this much team, but he's Michael Jordan.
Right.
And I think that's just a common thread for anyone who's done anything great that they set out to be great about. You have to
mess up a lot.
Yeah, you gotta mess up a lot. You know, it's all about the get back game.
Yeah, I like that. Get back game.
Get back
See?
game.
Yeah.
We got that here in the Bay. We got get back game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were to ask me about 3 to 4 to 5 years from now.
Hey, Brian. 3 to 4 to 5 years from now. where are you seeing? What do you see? Where are we at?
You know what, Tay? I don't know. I try not to future trip, but I do.
Okay.
So I like to have a book published in 4 to 5 years from now.
About what? What kind of book?
A book about autobiography about my life.
Okay.
I like to have submitted a film script to the Independent Film Festival or form some alliance with some type of spiritual filmmakers, that whoever that is.
So like what? Like you want to make like documentary, or you want to make like some type of anime? You know, so, you know, like something that
I want to
shows like what? Like is it going to be real people? Is it fiction? What is it? Fiction or what's the other? Non-fiction.
So I like to
you know how, like what kind?
I want to base the film script off real life circumstances.
Okay.
Of overcoming compelling obstacles with the spiritual connection.
Okay. Overcoming. What kind of obstacles?
Overcoming compelling obstacles.
Compelling obstacles
in life, and attaching that to a spiritual experience.
I like it.
So, however that looks, that's what I'd like to do, and I'd like to do a lot of it. But in 4 to 5 years, I feel like I'll have at least one accomplished by then, and I may be selling myself short. You know. Also, I'd like to have my bachelor's degree in psychology, and possibly have my master's.
And have your master's?
And have my master's. Thank you.
Yeah.
That.
Speaking
and then,
into existence.
Right. And then also, I don't know. I like to also have a public speaking certification, some type of Toastmasters cert, because public speaking has always been a challenge for me, and it's always been, as you know, it's always been hard for me to just immediately adapt to public social settings. So I've always isolated myself in the past, and that's initially how Courage to Change started, is confronting fear of letting people know, hey, this is who I am, let's talk, you know, and sharing that with a lot of people all at once, because I was always usually just a good one-on-one person, you know, because I'll be one way with one person and then be a different way with somebody else.
Don't be fronting.
Right.
Okay.
And so this recovery has taught me how to be fully transparent and to combat your fears and confront your fears, and this is what that looks like.
I like it.
Is that it? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we're done here with Courage to Change, and you just got a first look at Brian Wright and in up close and personal, and with my friend Tatum Walls. Thank you, Tatum, for doing this for me. We're headed to Sacramento to pick up Fisher, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Grace and peace.